Last night the government published the general scheme for the Protection of Life During Pregnancy Bill 2013. This is an issue that has been very divisive and very contentious for over 30 years. It's also an issue that is complex and sensitive, about which many Irish people have sincere and strongly held views. We are a compassionate people. This is about women. It is about saving lives, the lives of the mother and the life of the unborn. This bill restates the general prohibition on abortion in Ireland. The law on abortion in Ireland is not being changed. That law has been on the statute books since 1861, has been the subject of case law and a number of referenda as voted upon by the people. The Protection of Life in Pregnancy Bill will at last bring certainty to pregnant women and legal clarity to medical personnel who work within the system. Now, in deciding how to address the state's obligation arising from the European Court of Human Rights judgment in 2010, the government was determined to put in place a process which would not divide the country. And that's why the government established an expert group to examine this issue in all its complexity and to put forward options on how it should be addressed. I thank that group for the very thorough and the very valuable work that they did. It was clear from their report that the best way of achieving legal clarity for both women and for doctors would be through legislation and regulations. Our aim, therefore, is to protect the lives of women and their unborn babies by clarifying the circumstances in which doctors can intervene where a woman's life is at risk. The government last night approved the heads of a bill to protect life during pregnancy, which will now be referred to the Oireachtas Committee on Health and Children for debate and consideration, after which a bill will be drafted. I urge everyone in the Oireachtas who has a part to play in this and who has an interest to participate in the debate. The heads of the bill are based on a number of fundamental principles to provide legal clarity on the circumstances where a medical termination is permissible, where there is a real and a substantial risk to the life as opposed to the health of a woman as a result of a pregnancy, as required by the European Court of Human Rights judgment in the ABC case. Secondly, the legislation will be strictly within the parameters of the Constitution and the Supreme Court judgment in the X case. It will cover existing constitutional rights only. It will not create any new rights. Thirdly, that the equal right to life of the unborn will be upheld and the obligation of the medical profession to save both lives where possible will be confirmed. Fourthly, the medical termination of pregnancy can only be legally permitted in situations where the doctors involved in the assessment process have unanimously certified that it is the only treatment that will save the woman's life by averting the real and substantial threat to her life. And that because of the subjective nature of the assessment of suicide risk, the legislation will provide for a demonstrably more rigorous process of assessment in such cases. So the process and the procedures to be dealt with in the various kinds of cases that would arise will be dealt with by the ministers in the course of the discussions and the debate that takes place. I'd just like to say that the debate on this matter to date has been considered and non-divisive. And for my own part and on behalf of the government, and this is a government position here, we want this discussion and the debates that will take place on this to be in that fashion. I'd remind people again, and those who are listening, that the law on abortion in Ireland is not being changed. Our country will continue to be one of the safest places in the world for childbirth, and the regulation and the clarity that will now become evident through the Protection of Life of Pregnancy Bill will continue within the law to assert the restrictions on abortion that have applied in Ireland and that will apply for the future. Thank you very much indeed.